Hey guys, what's up? It is week 244, and we recorded our top 10 of 2021 over on the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror. That'll probably be out later in the week, so check that out if you're interested. I am a grumpy son of a bitch. Like, after that was done, I was like, I am so miserable on this show. I sound like I don't ever want to watch movies, but I love watching movies. I guess I am just crazy. So yeah, this is kind of the last of my 2021 watches, and there's a couple 94 watches, and I'm going into the second part of the Shawscope set. So there's not that as many reviews as usual, but there's a handful. So let's hop into the first part, and that's going to be the Shawscope. So this heavy sucker, probably pull my back out lifting this over here. But in the first part, I watched the first four movies. That was not last week, but the week before. King Boxer, what were they? The Boxer from Shang Tuang, 5 Shaolin Masters, and the Shaolin Temple. This set has 12 films on it. I think it's 10 discs. A couple of the movies are on the same disc. But we're going to start out this week talking about The Mighty Peking Man, which is was basically made because in 1976 Dilo De Laurentiis produced a King Kong remake, which I have not watched in years. I loved it as a kid, and even the terrible sequel, King Kong Lives. But yeah, so this one came out in 1977, I think, in China and Hong Kong area, but wasn't released until 78, or a couple years later after that for the American market. And yeah, so this stars Danny Lee. That's right, Danny Lee from, a lot of the action movies from, he's in Untold Story. But he's like a super famous actor, and I didn't even recognize him at first because he's really young in this. He has long hair. He doesn't necessarily look how I'm used to seeing him. So I was watching it, and then I was like, Danny, I was like, oh shit, that's the Danny Lee? That's Danny Lee in this movie? So this is a fairly kind of typical jungle adventure kind of, King Kong ripoff, right? So it starts off where there's a rumor that this the missing link or something of that line kind of came out of this cave after some sort of eruption. I don't know exactly. I think it was volcano eruption or something like that. And he ran amok and like trashed this village. He's enormous. They actually show it, so there's no surprise in seeing the monster. He pops right in. So it's up to Danny Lee, who is kind of a down on his luck guy. He reminds me of Stuart Whitman, I believe it's Stuart Whitman. Jeez, I can't know. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, and he's in that really terrible what is it? Philippines movie where him and like Harold Sakata are in the jungle and shit. He's kind of that character where he's like on his last, his last leg and everything. So he decides to kind of go into it's Invaders of Lost Gold. That's the movie. It came to me finally. Severn put it out. So he's going on this mission to capture, the giant ape. Along with a bunch of other people, like ranges of shady and everything like that. So basically, he's kind of down in the dumps because his girlfriend was cheating on him and everything like that with his brother. How dare they? So he goes into the jungle, and the first like 20-30 minutes are kind of your typical jungle adventure movie where they run into all sorts of, crazy things like a tiger that attacks them, a stampede of elephants, and like mountain climbing, and a bunch of the characters are killed. I believe some die in quicksand, as you should in these kind of movies. So characters are sporadically picked off until, of course, they find the giant ape, the mighty Peking Man. But he's actually being controlled by a beautiful blonde. Think, King Kong style. And they have a deep connection. So he, at first, kind of, befriends the blonde, and then eventually they kind of start a relationship. And this is where the movie took a turn for me, where I didn't really expect that. Because the first part, you're like, oh, it's going to be the jungle adventure movie. They're going to capture the monkey or the ape and bring him back, and he's going to run amok, yada, yada, yada. So it's pretty typical King Kong stuff is what you're thinking. I was enjoying the carnage on the island and everything like that. But then after he's captured, the Peking Man actually listens to what Danny Lee and the love interest say, the woman who can control him, because there's like a love triangle between the monkey and Danny Lee and everything. So I was like, oh shit, this is strange. So they kind of show off the Peking Man, but of course, there's going to be greed, there's going to be corruption, and it's going to end in tragedy, a la King Kong. The end of this movie kind of shocked me because I really thought it was going to go one way, and I thought it was going to be even more downbeat. But man, I'll tell you what, the Peking Man is tough. He does not go out without a fight, I will tell you that much. Yeah, it has your typical kind of blood from the time, the late 70s, that bright pink kind of blood. But I actually enjoyed this one. It was very fun, and I was upset at the end. It touched me a little bit. I was like, no, as King Kong does too. It's not as good as King Kong. Nothing really can compare to King Kong when it comes to these kind of movies. But as far as the special features are concerned, we have a brand new commentary by Travis Crawford, which I really enjoyed. He talks a lot about, the production of the movie, when it was released, what was inspired by, all that good stuff. Brand new interview with suit designer Kizu Murazi, filmed in 2021 by Dakatsu Sato and Yoshikazu Ishii. Interview with director Ho Ming Hua, filmed in 2003. Interview with star Ku Feng, filmed in 2004. Behind-the-scenes Super 8 footage from archives of Keizu Murazi and on restored standard definition. We also have an alternate opening credits for Goliathon, the U.S. version of The Mighty Peking Man. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I enjoyed this one, and it's different because we're seeing a lot of kung fu movies, mostly period pieces. So when this one came on, I was like, all right, we're into a creature flick, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's very fun. Check it out. Okay, the next one I'm going to talk about, I might talk about both of these back to back. This is Challenge of the Masters, and also on this disc is Executioners from Shaolin. I always have to make sure I say the titles correctly because they all have alternate titles, and they're all very similar, let's be honest. So the first one, Challenge of the Masters. This one I felt was surprisingly not as violent as a lot of the other Shaw Brothers movies. So there's kind of two gangs that don't like each other, of course, and they're both at each other's throats. They're always doing kind of dirty things. And, well, the one gang is, obviously the bad gang, and then there's the good gang. But so stuff like, running into their parade, putting their floats in their way, and basically, the main baddie on their team is kind of pulling the strings, kind of getting them to do this. And so the group is constantly fighting, and the master of the good group, or the better group, has a son who he refuses to train because he just has a hot temper, and he doesn't think that kung fu would be good for him, and he thinks he would abuse it. So he's constantly trying to teach himself, and he's doing ridiculous things. And one of the lesser masters kind of takes pity on him, and he suggests to the guy's father, the father's master who taught the father, who's retired, that he should take on one more student. That actor is actually the guy from The Boxer of Shang Tuang and Old Man makeup. This guy's in a bunch of these Shaw Brothers movies. He's really good. I love him in The Boxer from Shang Tuang. So yeah, anyways, he gets to training, and there's a murder, and there's a criminal that they're after, and all that kind of stuff. And at the very end, he learns a valuable lesson. There's fight scenes, and they have this elaborate kind of game, like a game to where they're trying to prove who the best, the school is. They throw these things, these batons in the air, and they have to fight over it, and whoever gets the baton becomes the master or whatever, the champion that year. But yeah, it's overall, it's decent. This was probably my least favorite of the film so far, maybe because it was, I guess I would say it's a little bit more lighthearted, less action, more lesson oriented. They all have their lessons, but yeah, this is Challenge of the Masters. Overall, it's okay. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, but it's decent, and I think some people could get some enjoyment out of it. Okay, the next one on the same disc is the Executioners from Shaolin. And this one opens up with this crazy battle scene between these two masters, and you learn right away that one of the masters actually has this crazy spot where you have to hit him. And that's not the first Shaw Brothers movies I've had, where the main bad guy cannot be destroyed. He has a secret, spot where you have to hit him and all that kind of stuff. And I actually believe that I did check out the semi-remake of this, and it was that kind of in that vein where he had the secret spot, and it was the Clan of the White Lotus, I believe, is the semi-sequel or remake of this. And I correct me if I'm wrong, people, but I did watch and cover that one before. So I think that these two are kind of related, although not same filmmakers, but same company behind it and everything. So in the very beginning, one master is killed by another, and the group that is very upset. You can catch a lot of the same patterns, right? The group is very upset. They try to escape, and people give their lives and sacrifices, and they make promises to get the revenge. So this one guy moves away, and he basically lives his whole life training to destroy this master. And he's always kind of on the run. The Imperial, the bad guys are always after him, and he ends up kind of meeting this woman who is also a kung fu master, and they both have different trainings. One's the tiger, one's the swan technique, and so they're always kind of fighting. Even to have sex, they kind of do the battle and everything like that, which is a nice touch. So eventually they have a kid, and the kid actually learns the female style and everything like that. So it's definitely a battle of the sexes, and you show that you don't always need one style to conquer something or to win at something. But it's kind of interesting the fact that the son actually is very feminine because he learned a feminine kung fu style, which is kind of fun. But there's also cool ideas like where they're constantly like testing each other, like trying to eat dinner. So like they'll be eating dinner, they're like hitting each other with like sticks and stuff, and it'll just like destroy the house. It's enjoyable. This one's pretty fun, and the bad guy's cool, and the set piece on the stairs is really cool as well. So that's Executioners from Shaolin. Check this one out. I should read the special features on this disc before I get out of here. So yeah, there is newly filmed appreciation by film critic and historian Tony Reyes, who's on this whole thing, and he's the one who dives in and was explaining the battle of the sexes, and is obviously there very much so, and that's unique. And he said that this one made a lot of money because it was different. Interview with star Gordon Liu, filmed in 2002. Interview with star Chang Ku Tai, filmed in 2007. Textless opening credits, alternate, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I would pick Executioners from Shaolin out of the two on this one. I thought that was the most interesting of the two. Okay, and the last one for this Shaw Brothers part is going to be the Chinatown King, which this one is a bit different, completely different actually, in comparison to the whole box set, because it takes place in modern times. It's not a period piece, which I love seeing. So we have this kind of young man who, him and his family, his grandfather are struggling. They don't have any money. He's always trying to make a lot of money. So one day he decides to open up an orange shop, and he's doing it illegally. He squeezes the oranges with his bare hands. He's a very hard worker, very good at this. And he kind of runs into some local criminals that set him up and plant some drugs on him. And if he doesn't get out of, I believe it's Hong Kong. He's in Hong Kong. I always get confused if they're in Hong Kong or mainland China. I believe it's Hong Kong in this one. So if he doesn't get out of Hong Kong, he's going to do some serious jail time. So his grandfather helps him get out of there, and he ends up in America. And it's kind of a rags to riches story again. It would be a nice double feature with Boxer Shang Tuang, where you see the differences. And they have similarities. The character is, starts to get overtaken by the get it rise to the top, but then he has that soft side or the right side or the moral side to him as well. So anyways, there is some comedy beats, and the two main characters, they both are, one is like a college kid, and he's a former military guy, and the other is the person escaping for the bad drug rap that wasn't his. So these two end up working in a restaurant together, and they are similar but they're different. And like I said, they get involved with this other criminal element there, and he rises to the top, the Chinatown King, because he's such a badass fighter. And it turns out that those criminals from his past are ending up there, and he does some violent things, and it kind of switches where he is in life. But the ending was different. Like, I didn't expect it to go where it went with the military guy and everything like that. And yeah, I enjoyed this one. I thought it was fun. I thought the fight scenes were really cool and enjoyable as well. And they used the streets, and it's just a bit different. And it became the best of the four. I think it's the best out of these personal four, the ones I watched. So Chinatown King, I would recommend. Chinatown Kid, sorry about that. But I would recommend it. As far as the special features are concerned, we have brand new audio commentary on the international version by Terrence J. Brady, author of Alexander Fusheng, Biography of the Chinatown King. And he talks a lot about him, and his life sounds very interesting and very tragic at the same time. And this actor is in a bunch of these movies. He kind of is the one that has like almost the most kid-like qualities. He looks very young. He's like I don't want to compare to like a Billy the Kid type or something, but he just has a very young quality about him. I can't remember which of the ones he was in earlier, but he was kind of the younger guy trying to learn a lot of the stuff, and the one where they go to the school and they give them all these menial jobs, and they're figuring out their kung fu masters eventually. Yeah, but this is an international version that runs almost 2 hours long. So there's a couple versions of this movie as well. And then there's The Elegant Trails of Fusheng, a featurette on actor produced by Celestial Pictures in 2005. So yeah, this set is pretty good. I can't wait to watch the last four. Not next week, but the ones coming up are the Five Venoms and Crippled Avengers, Heroes of the East, Dirty Ho. Yeah, they all sound pretty interesting, to be honest. And I know the Five Deadly Venoms is a big one. That's one of the more popular Shaw Brothers flicks. So if this sounds like it's up your alley, this set is it's very time consuming, but it's very good. Check it out. And I'm hoping for a volume 2. I'm hoping to see some of the horror titles, like Seeding of a Ghost would get a nice U.S. release, or Boxer's Omen, which I've never seen and I've wanted to see for frickin' years. So, yeah, anyways, I'm digging the Shaw Brothers stuff, but I'm more into the crazier cinema. And this stuff is crazy, so I just want even crazier. I want, like, Seeding of a Ghost crazy. So, anyways, check this set out if it sounds like it's up your alley. Okay, the next one up is a 2021 movie, and I rented this on Amazon Prime, and it is Broadcast Signal Intrusion, which is a batshit crazy name. It takes place in the 90s, the late 90s, which is kind of the MO this year. So many 90s things were in, like, last, like, few years we were in the 80s, and then we're in the 90s. Before that was the 70s. We're always doing these retros, like I guess we're moving into early 2000s. Like, it happens like every 20 years. So this one takes place in 1999. And it follows a story. I love the lead in this movie. I don't know the actor's name, but it follows a story of a guy who works like fixing cameras and electrical and all that kind of stuff. I believe his job is to kind of look through old like broadcasts and make sure everything's okay. I think that's kind of like, I'm not 100% exact what his job is, but it's something to check, like old broadcasts, whatever. So one day he stumbles across this weird broadcast signal intrusion, and it reminds me of the it's like this android-like woman. She's all weird like this, and it just cuts in, and it's creepy as shit. And it reminds me of who is the kind of actor or actress? I don't even know who they were beneath all the mask. But there's this strange collection I covered called like the Shay Collection, where it was just this weird kind of like choppy, strange footage where they were saying these strange lines like, "I'm gonna get a drink." It was fucking real weird. I think it's called the Shay Collection, if I'm not mistaken. I want to pull it out here because I really feel like that it could be some interest to people. I can't remember what it's called, but it's super super bizarre, and like it's just like this. I feel like it's directly inspired by it. But he notices this signal intrusion, and it just something triggers in his mind that it hits a little too close to home for him. It's just not right. He also is suffering from a loss. He goes to grief counseling with a lot of other people. Think Hereditary. You know how a lot of people do that kind of Hereditary, and I know they do it in like I Spit on Your Grave 3. I mean, it's a true thing. People do it, but I'm just giving some examples in films. So he's going to grief counseling with a group of people, like kind of like a help group thing, where he obviously lost someone in his life. He has flashes and nightmares about it. So after a while, he starts to dig deeper into this signal intrusion, and he talks to one of his kind of colleagues or somebody he works for sometimes fixing stuff, and the guy tells him, "Oh yeah, that stuff is like this weird, it was like this big like conspiracy theory in like the 80s, the late 80s, and then there's another one in the 90s, and he starts to go down this rabbit hole and becomes obsessed, and he starts to see that there's correlations, or he thinks there's correlations, and it just goes down this crazy rabbit hole of kind of researching and trying to find these signal intrusion broadcasts. And of course it reminds me of something like Murder Death Koreatown, or something like Nulroy the Curse, where you just start digging deeper into this weird kind of shit, and you know it's not going to end well for you. I love these kind of movies, like these kind of mystery movies that may have a supernatural or a criminal element to them, but you're not 100% sure because the character is working through his own shit, and you're like, is this connected? I want this to be connected. This character needs resolution. But there is kind of an odd moment where he meets another character that starts to help him with it, and I felt like that was a little bit of a cop-out, but there is some stuff that's kind of explained later. Anyways, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was fairly good. Great lead, loved him, thought he was excellent. Great look about him too, and it's just an interesting movie. I would really recommend checking this out if you like these kind of fall down the rabbit hole discovery movies. And plus, it takes place in the late 90s, so it's technology I grew up with, so I can kind of relate. Yeah, and those signals are creepy as shit. And when you like peel back something and see something else about it, it's just scary. And there's a character in here, like a doctor, who looked into it, and he talks to him a lot, and all his dialogue is great. His interactions are great. He's also an excellent character in this one. But anyways, check this one out. I think that people will like it. I did, at least, and I haven't heard too many people talk about it. I know that it did make somebody's top movie of the year. I won't spoil their top 10 list, but when I heard that, and I don't know this person personally, but I listened to their list and I listened to them review movies, and they always have a very good, taste, and I agree with them most of the time. So I was like, I think I am going to check this movie out as one of the last ones I watched for 2021. It was actually the last movie I watched for 2021, and it was quite great. So yeah, check it out. I think Dark Sky put out a Blu-ray if you're interested as well. Okay, the next one was a lot of people recommended this movie. I rented it on Amazon, and it is Coming Home in the Dark. It is a New Zealand picture. First and foremost, the cinematography is great in this. The acting is really good. The location is wonderful. You know, all that kind of stuff is really top notch. So, this movie starts off in the first 20 minutes. I was captivated. I was on the edge of my seat, and then they do something that it completely lost me. A lot of people still love the movie after this, but it lost me. I just could not relate to the situation or believe the situation any longer, how it was unfolding after that situation. So it completely ruined the movie for me. Like, I literally was like, well, I don't really, I mean, not that I'm upset. I was upset, but that's not what did it. I just could not believe it. After that situation, I was just like, I just don't buy this. I don't see the point to this, and I don't understand this. To me, they basically, it's like playing cards with someone, and like they show you their hand and then still want to play, like, or place bets or some shit like that, or want you show your hand and then they're like, now place bet. It just didn't make any sense to me. It just lost all tension and all suspense. But there is some interesting elements in here about people turning a blind eye to abuse and then becoming a victim of abuse themselves. And there's also an interesting thing here too about, you know, there's two kind of baddies in the movie, and the one is less interesting. The main one, who's just kind of like your loudmouth assholes, definitely abused, but they become so repulsive and that you don't really want to see them anymore. Like, there's a lot of people like that where you're like, oh, they're abused, but they are the one that will at least say something along that. They'll open their mouth about it and act like what they're doing is justified, and you just don't need to hear that character. And there's another character that he has with them, like, who seems to be more of a native character, you know, and he just is a way more interesting character, and the way he acts and moves and the things he does after violent scenes, like even the way he shakes off his hands to dry them was interesting. He was just a very interesting actor, and the way it ended, I really did like the last couple minutes in the movie. I thought that was really nice touch. Like, I do like half of this movie I think is great, and half the movie I don't care for. It basically, the whole movie lives and dies on that scene, and it dies for me. Unfortunately, it's a beautiful fucking corpse after that, but it's still dead. That's Coming Home in the Dark. So I think a lot of people love this. Don't sleep on it. Check it out for yourself. You gotta. It is definitely worth a watch. It's just not something that did anything for me. Like, I really hate saying that because I feel like these movies were made so much better in the 70s. So that is Coming Home in the Dark. Okay, the next two are going to be the other Fear Street movies. So yeah, remember I complained so much about 1994 I couldn't finish it. I came back and I ended up kind of like in Fear Street 1994. This one is Fear Street 1978. Again, this one kind of takes place more in the summer camp aspect, and we're kind of looked a bit more into this town. We kind of break back the curtain, and we realize that we have a summer camp thing. This one, it feels a little inspired by Friday the 13th, of course, just with the counselors and all that. But the one thing that surprised me about this movie is that there's times when it's super mean-spirited, even though it feels a little bit more aimed at kids. And I guess, you know, sometimes I'll complain that there's no stakes in like semi-friendly kids movies, and this one, it's not really for kids. It just goes a little too far, but it's also, I gotta forget, it's not made for kids, but it feels like it's made for kids, but then like, people will die you don't expect, so you're like, shit. But this one I liked a little bit better than Fear Street 94. So you get more backstory on a lot of the characters, and you start to see, you see the sheriff is in here as a young man, and other characters are in here. But this kind of follows the story of them finding something really nasty, and like if I break down absolutely everything about this movie, it'll just spoil the shit out of it if you're gonna watch it. But I liked how they handled what caused it. I mean, you know what's kind of going on in Fear Street 94, but this one you get a little bit more glimpse at it, and you just understand a lot more what's going on. And they show like the character from this one in 94. But so as far as the villain in this one's concerned, he was definitely made to play a villain. He looks kind of crazy and weird. So he looks like kind of like normal, but then when he goes crazy, I think it fits kind of good. I really don't have all that much to say about it. I thought that it was well shot, well acted, less needle drops. I do like the kind of Pamela Voorhees style character in here. But yeah, this one's fun and enjoyable, and I love where the fucking tree ended up. I didn't register that in Fear Street 94, where it ends up. I don't even know if you see it, and I think you do see it in 94, but it becomes kind of a reoccurring thing, and it would be, I think, pretty rewarding to go back and watch these movies all again to see, you know, a little bit of the more stuff in the first one that is kind of more explained or shown in the second and third one. So yeah, that's Fear Street 1978. Fun stuff. Now we're going to end the Fear Streets with Fear Street 1666. And this was my favorite of the three. And I know this is not the more popular one. This is the period piece one. I guess all three of them are period pieces, but this is the further back period piece, the one that takes place in kind of the you know, the colonial, medieval, whatever the fuck you want to say. It's not exactly that, but people still believe there's witches. So essentially we have the main character from 94 kind of feeling like, or seeing a glimpse of what actually happened. So she's basically in the body of this character, and it's basically, you get the idea that it's kind of their ancestor. She's in the main witch that people blame for the horrible stuff that happens in this town, and we finally get to see why Sunnyvale and Shadyside are the way they are, and what happened to the witch and who the witch was, and we see the this real lesbian relationship kind of explored and all that kind of stuff in this, and how it started. But yeah, so it all plays back to the first movie, and a lot of the same actors and actresses pop back up as different characters and kind of the ancestor thing. And there's a nice little twist and turn in here that explains absolutely everything. And then the second part of this movie, we jump back to 1994. I love how they showed the bodies in the first part of this, where they have all the bodies laid out, and then we also have that 1978. So we have like all this town reliving all these moments and everything like that. Like they're doomed to repeat history all the fucking time because this curse is on the town. So yeah, anyways, there's some violence in here that's surprising. Some of the characters died in horrific ways. The priest with no eyes is pretty demented, especially what his actions are. But yeah, this one was my favorite of the bunch. I like all that, blaming people for witchcraft shit and everything like that. But yeah, this is a good flick, and it's a great end to it. As they went on, they got more and more interesting because you get a little glimpse at the story, and by the end of it, you're like, I just got to see how this freaking thing ends. So I would recommend checking the Fear Street movies out. Like I said, the first 30 minutes of the first one I didn't love, but the rest of them were all going up for me. So it was kind of like it started at the low point and went up, and that's exactly how you want movies to go, I really would say. Or just never have a low point, but I don't know if that's possible. I mean, there is some, but yeah. Anyways, if it does start with a low point, you definitely want it to go up. You don't want it to go down, because then I don't know if you can get lower when it's the new low point. Fucking don't listen to me. That makes no sense. Out of here. Fear Street. 1666. Okay, we're going to jump into the Patreon pick, and this is by Dan the Cameraman. He said, pick a Chris Nolan movie I hadn't seen, and surprising, I haven't seen all that many Chris Nolan movies. I've seen a couple of the Batman movies, and I don't know what else I'd seen, but I certainly hadn't seen Memento from 2000, starring Guy Pearce, Joey Pants. Who else is in here? Mark Jr. Boone, or whatever the hell that character actor's name is. But there's some other people. Those are the big three. Well, really, it's just Joey Pants, and I can't think of the female lead in here. She's very good as well. But this is a strange film. Everybody had a lot of buzz when it came out, and this and Irreversible have kind of the same structure, a little bit different structure, but they basically start backwards and rewind, of course. But this one has like a mystery element to it. So I guess if you're going backwards, you kind of want to see how it all folds. It automatically makes it kind of a mystery. But right in the beginning of this movie, Guy Pearce murders someone, and you're like, shit. You see him covered in blood. It's just, the way it's done is very interesting. So it turns out that Guy Pearce is looking for somebody who's responsible for the rape and murder of his wife and the person that caused him amnesia. He explains that he has long-term memory, but he doesn't have short-term memory. So he absolutely doesn't remember anybody he meets. The next day he'll have to re-meet them and all that kind of shit. So he always writes himself notes. His body is tattooed with like clues to the crime and all this kind of shit. So that's basically it. Guy Pearce is an actor who plays these kind of miserable characters. Like, I've never been like, that character, I like him. But I like watching the characters. He always does a great job, whether it's The Proposition or Brimstone. He's a very strong actor. And this one, he looks very 2000s, early 2000s with his bleach blonde hair and shit. But anyways, it becomes like a film noir style where we have like femme fatale, and Joey Pants is absolutely wonderful in this movie. The way he interacts with Guy Pearce, the way they talk, and just his demeanor. I love him. He's always trying to get in his nice car and all that kind of shit. But yeah, so the further it goes, the more you realize. And there's some really touching moments in here. There's a part where Guy Pearce is laying in bed, and he explains that all he remembers exactly is like he remembers right up until the attack. And so he's like, just imagine like waking up every time and you basically still have that loss fresh. Because anyone that's kind of, suffered like a loss, like the shocking loss like that, I imagine, like it's for me, I can say, or, our personal experience, you wake up and you don't expect it to be real. You almost just kind of expect it to be a horrible nightmare. And he was sitting in bed and he was talking about that. So he can never heal. He can never have that time pass, because every day he wakes up, he resets to that. He resets to the most miserable fucking time in his life. So it's just such a crazy thing to think about. You can understand why this character is so tortured. But there's some funny beats in here, like him getting ripped off in the hotel, and like I said, everything between him and Joey Pants is wonderful. Yeah. Stephen Tobolowsky is in here as well, and he's got a brilliant scene. His stuff is told in like this flashback where he had lost his memory, and it's a little bit different than his, and he always explains that. Anyways, I love that stuff. It's just a really good film. It's interesting as hell, and the more you think about it and the way it unfolds, like it keeps you on the edge of your seat where you really want to see how the hell this happened and everything like that. I mean, it's not often a movie starts with a murder and goes backwards and it gets more interesting, right? But that is Memento. I really loved it. I thought it was great, and I didn't know how I'd feel. It's a movie that it's been 21 years, so everybody's talked about it, everybody's sung praises for it, and I just missed it. So I just felt really dumb. So I was like, this is the time I'm going to watch Memento, and I do not regret it. I loved it. That was great. I just bought it on Amazon because I don't think I had a disc. I'll have to buy the Blu-ray or DVD and watch the version that goes in the normal order too. I know a lot of people do that after they watch this to make sure that everything checks out, and I've heard everybody say that it checks out. It works pretty well. So yeah, that's Memento. Okay, we're going to get into those 1994 movies.
Prison officials say Dahmer's head may have been bashed against a wall.
As last-minute appeals failed to stop the execution of America's most notorious mass murderer, John Wayne Gacy.
Throughout, Chikatilo presented himself as a wretched victim of nature's indifference.
Satan approves.
Reality! What do you know about reality?
Handling 40 CNN cable television has announced exclusive live.
It's not a Solitaire story. This is not reality. Not reality. Not reality.
This is reality.
Not reality.
The delusion of a disordered mind, a phantom, a spirit, a ghost.
Look, he hasn't got any relatives, and the coma he's in is irreversible. Give me a signature and I'll pull the plug now.
Fuck off.
All right, the first one up is Nausea. And this is one of these kind of 90s New York black and white artsy-fartsy movies in line with Night Owl and The Addiction and Habit, which I don't think is black and white, but artsy-fartsy New York vampire movie for sure. So Nausea. Okay. This movie is like kind of a dark comedy. At least that, I hope it's a dark comedy. Definitely kind of hipster, weird. I don't know how to explain this. So what we have is this vampire who is pretty old. They has a twin brother, and her father had just died. Basically, you find out that Peter Fonda is this crazy kind of vampire hunter. He's the best part of the movie. He's very funny in it. And his nephew is Martin Donovan, who's been dating this girl. And he's the one who actually killed this vampire. There's a David Lynch cameo as well. I should mention that. He produced it. And so it all comes back to Naja kind of starting this weird relationship with Martin Donovan's girlfriend. And they're all tied together and everything like that. Even at the end, they have this part where another character is somehow tied together, like it's fate or something. It's just really kind of convenient, but this movie's supernatural to an extent. So you're like, is this supposed to be a funny coincidence, or who gives a shit, or just whatever, they're drawn together? I don't know. So this one is really weird. So when it does the vampire vision, it gets real blurry and real shitty, and it's just like, it's a statement. It's a dumb statement to me. Half of a movie is visual, and if I can't see 25% of what the fuck's happening, why? I don't know. Like I said, I thought that Peter Fonda was really funny in it. There's a bit with the tarantula that was good. But for the most part, I really don't like this. And I don't really love any of those New York vampire movies. I love vampire movies. I love the offbeat vampire movies. Martin's great. Transfiguration's good. Mary, Mary, Bloody Mary's good. There's just a lot of them that are kind of vampire stories, kind of not vampire stories that I really like. And I like The Addiction is the best of these movies that I've seen, but Night Owl's not great, but I think it's better than this. This one, it just doesn't do anything for me. It's just, it's like if Jim Jarmusch wasn't good. Like, I don't know, I know that sounds like a shitty thing and a dumb thing to say. It's like if Jim Jarmusch sucked, you'd get nausea. Like, that's all I can say about it. Like I said, Peter Fonda is funny as fuck. The very ending, I don't know. I just don't like this. I don't care for this at all. And it's minimal on violence. That's not really what it's going for, but there's not really any vampire action. There is some funny dialogue. Like the humor comes from the dialogue, and I think that's what a lot of people do like. Where the girlfriend says, I can't think of her name. I can't think of anybody's name in the movie, just the actors' names and stuff. Says she has a pet tarantula, and she says something, I've been trying to teach it French, but it won't pick up. And Naja says, she's told it, maybe it has a learning disability. I thought that was pretty fucking funny. Stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it just doesn't do much for me. It's kind of meandering and just, not for me. It's not horrible, right down the middle. Worth maybe checking out for 15 minutes, and if you love it, check it out. I know people love this one, but just one doesn't do very much for me, sorry. Okay, this next one I believe is from the Netherlands, and this is SOV from 94, right? Then this is Heaven is Only in Hell. Terrible title. This director is named Wim Vink, I believe, and he did like 4 SOV movies. Half Past Midnight, I think, is one he did, and then a couple shorts, like I think that one might be a short too, like Pandora, and he has another one too. So this guy's done a handful of movies. This is the only one I've watched so far, and it might be the only one I watch. I don't want to be too negative, but this is one of my least favorite 1994 movies. So it's an SOV. It drags on. It's a 15 minutes of stuff here, drawn into an hour and like 25 minutes. So what we have here is a guy just moves into a house and he finds this book, and also another woman gets a glimpse of the book, and we keep flashing back to this mother and young child who are kind of running. It seems like maybe a period piece situation or a flashback. Kind of like Witch Times, and they also somewhat have the book, and everybody's getting these like weird, they're reading it, but they're kind of like always having these messages in their head, and they're like real monotone, like, remember the narrator in Turok 2 that's like, "Find 6 children." I don't know why that's embedded in my head, probably because I watched that opening a million times, but they literally do this, where it's like, "Find a well at the bottom of the house," and it just doesn't stop. You can tell that they tried to like do minimal dialogue, probably because they could sell it to multiple markets, if that makes any sense. I don't know if they shot this in English or that, because there's barely any dialogue except that voiceover there, and if they were like planning on doing it in Dutch or all these different languages, it would be very easy just to dub over that dialogue, because a lot of the other stuff is not really spoken. They'll like go up to the character's ear when they're trying to pick up people in the bar and that kind of shit. So the dialogue is very minimal, probably so it's more broad, like easily to sell to other markets. I don't fucking know where this got released. I have not heard much about this movie, but eventually we get to like the hour mark, and hour and 10 minute mark, and a murder takes place because they're listening to what the book tells them. The twist at the end, I guess, is okay. The kills that actually happen are decent. I mean, they're not amazing, but there's a couple kind of visuals that are really nasty. Somebody with their throat slit being held over the well is quite, repulsive, but it's not a gore fest or anything like that. But that idea is pretty nasty. The twist at the end is like kind of like, oh shit, like this would have made a great 25-minute like Tales from the Crypt episode or something, because that's what it feels like. But it's an hour and 20 minutes. There's like an extended jazzercise where they're all dancing, and it's like the camera work kind of is good in that, especially for SOV, where it goes to like down to the ground and pulls out, and like you see the people kind of dancing still. Like literally, there's like 4 or 5 scenes of people just dancing. Like, and I'm like, is this like fucking Killer Workout or Death Spa or some shit, or Toxic Avenger, where we just have like 10 minutes of like aerobics? I don't fucking know. Anyways, this is not for me either. Did not care much for this one. I would check out the other director stuff. Maybe the plots are just a little bit up my alley. It's a minimal movie. I mean, it's very cheap, so you can't expect all that much. But Heaven is Only in Hell. Not recommended for me, at least. So, yeah.
What? What is this? Zombie Bloodbath 2, Rage of the Undead.
Oh.
What? You ain't seen Zombie Bloodbath 2, Rage of the Undead?
Nah, I guess I must have missed that one.
You ain't seen nothing.
You ain't seen nothing.
I seen way more than you. You haven't seen Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, Casino, Cannibal Holocaust, The Beginning, The Great Escape, Kelly's Heroes, Once Upon a Time in the fucking West.
You haven't seen War and Peace, Pink Flamingos, Casablanca, Gone with the Wind, Citizen Kane, The Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas Special.
You haven't seen, what else haven't you seen? The Magnificent Seven? The Magnificent Seven Ride Again? The Magnificent Seven Are Back? Is that a movie? And last of all, you ain't seen Zombie Bloodbath 2, Rage of the Undead.
And you haven't seen War and Peace.
I ain't watching War and Peace.
The hell you are.
Fuck War and Peace.
All right, we're here to do a You Ain't Seen, and this was your pick for me. And I'm somewhat of a novice in anime, right? I've seen a handful. Anime. It's me, anime boy. Okay, so I'm a kind of a novice. Stop shaking your head. It's distracting me. I've seen a couple, the Vampire Hunter D, and I can't even remember any others off the top of my head, but we've watched a couple. I know you've seen a bunch. So you picked Devilman, which is an OVA.
Yeah.
Which is like, are those limited miniseries that were never completed? It seems like all of them are never completed.
Yeah, so like, basically they're made for the home video market as opposed to airing on TV or in theaters. Like they produce OVAs for home video with the hopes that maybe they'll get picked up and maybe become a TV show, become a series.
One ever?
Yeah, like Tenchi Muyo is a prime example.
I'm just kidding. It just seems like every good one that people love never got picked up.
Most OVA, like they pump out 2 or 3 episodes and that's it. And even in the case of like something like Tenchi Muyo that ran for 9 episodes, when they got picked up for TV, they did an entire reboot with a completely different story and plot than the original OVA. As far as I know, never got like a proper conclusion. But I think they did end up doing more Tenchi stuff. I don't know. That's not neither here nor there.
It's also like Guyver. It never really finished the first series, and then they made a second series years down the line.
Yeah, they do that all the time with OVA.
And this one's been rebooted a couple times. There's a old animated series, and then there's the anime, then there's the one in the 2000s, then there's a live action.
Yeah.
This was my first experience with Devilman, or as you call him, Devilman.
Devilman.
Yeah, this opened up and it had a lot of crazy imagery right off the bat. It has this weird like creation of the demons, almost like a a medieval, not even medieval, prehistoric creation of the demons. It reminds me of heavy metal and some of the imagery from Guyver. Mm-hmm. But the demons in this movie were unlike any creatures I've ever seen in an anime. Like I would compare them to, like I said, Guyver, but that's it. But they're also strange. They're like Quatermass experiment monsters where they just like mutate with people and create wholly original and different unique monsters. So you'll never see like the same monster twice.
Right.
But they're fucking scary as shit. So essentially the plot of Devilman is we have a young man who is he's kind of down on his luck. His parents are he's just living in a shitty existence with a family that's kind of helping him out. And a friend from years past, from high school maybe before, comes to him and says, "You're the only person that I believe is truly good, so I need you to become possessed by a demon to fight the oncoming invasion of demons that are going to destroy the world and take it over and basically make everyone an evil demon." So he invites a demon into his body and he becomes Devilman, where he must fight against a bunch of crazy demons. The first episode is the origin. The second episode is him facing off against this kind of crazy winged one demon that has some henchmen that are really unique.
Yeah.
So that's where I'll leave it at that. And then I thought it was great. I thought the animation was really grotesque and creepy and weird. And it was gory and violent, and I like Devilman. He's cool.
Yeah, I think Devilman's really cool. I love the style that this one's done in. Because I think this is it like 82?
87.
87, okay, 87. So it's like right on that cusp where we're starting to get to the 90s stuff. But like it just has like a very nice, fresh, clean style. I don't know, like I can usually like you can look at like an anime, you can tell like, oh, this is early 80s, late 80s, 90s, 2000s. And like that, I'd say like that 85 to like 95 is like the sweet spot for me. I don't know why. I like every time I watch something from that time, I'm just filled with like this like weird
nostalgia.
Yeah, I think it is nostalgia.
Well, I think that Japanese films, I know this isn't animated or anime, but they have a certain look that just look very great to me. And it's the longest time that movies have looked that way. Like, they lasted like 30 years. I liked how they looked.
Yeah.
And in America, I stopped liking how movies looked in the late 90s, early 2000s. But before that, I loved how they looked. But in Japan, it continued. That style continued. Even their like cheap digital shit, I liked how it looked for some reason.
Well, you know, I've always liked stuff about like the really industrial side of like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Like some of the scenes in Terminator, I think specifically Terminator 2 always stuck out to me, like how they had the factory, or like them like running through like the Los Angeles like viaduct systems.
Yeah.
I don't know, what things just always appealed to me, that they always seem to be present in anime from this time period. Like, this is also one of the earlier animes I saw, like as a kid growing up, and it's like one of the ones where, man, I don't think I'm allowed to be watching this. You know, you have those movies where you stumble across them, and it's like, man, if my mom knew I was watching this,
I get in Hellraiser too, I would get
right.
In yeah. But this one, it's not sexually really charged.
No, this one isn't.
There's no tentacle, but the violence is insane.
The violence is a bit, and not it's not out of. It's not like insane, but it's
this strange. It's body horror. It has a lot of ideas that are puke inducing. The character, the turtle shell character, because all the demons, they know each other because they come from the same land, so they can call each other and kind of and they take over an entity, and once they take over that entity, they're that, and then they die, and I don't know where they go after that. I don't think they can repossess. I think they're kind of out of the picture.
Yeah, I think a dead demon is a dead demon.
Yeah, so the rules are crazy. It's a weird movie.
Yeah.
But the thing that kind of shocked me was this character that he fights in the sewer system has shells. He basically has all these people that he engulfed, like Freddy Krueger, and he has their demons on his back. And I was like, and his mother, Devilman's mother, is in there. His human mother. You know what I mean?
I know
like
what you
the
mean.
human
yeah.
version, he had a side. It's because Devilman mixed perfectly, kind of like Venom. He could control the demon,
right?
And as a symbiote, but it's so disgusting and made me ill. And he has a horror. He doesn't want to kill the demon because he's killing his mother, so he has to face all that loss that he had. It's just a repulsive scene, to be honest. Like, it's well done and gross, but it bothered me. It actually bothered me, and I could see that's kind of the thing what they're going for. And the other monsters bothered me too later on, like the one that just kind of engulfed the water. Like, I was like,
yeah,
what
the water
fuck
monster
is this? Like, and then the one that engulfed the floorboards, he was rather useless in comparison to the water one. And I felt kind of bad for, like, when Devilman kills him, like, as disgusting and horrible as the monsters are, they're like, no, hell. Like, I feel kind of bad, but then I'm like, they gotta go. They're fucking monsters.
Right. The one that like possesses the house is like this like little puke monster. Like, he literally just looks like a skid mark.
He looks like a shitty, like, you know when you buy the Ghostbusters toys and then they have the bonus little toy in the corner that doesn't do anything. It's just like a shell. It's like a 50-cent like monster.
The finger puppets from like Oriental Trader.
Something. Yeah. So, like, he also reminded me of the little creature in Vampire Hunter D that's just like, that jumps at him and has, like, the spikes, and he gets wiped out in 2 seconds. Like,
I always remember that scene. It's like, this is magical.
I love that scene of Vampire. He kills, like, every single character in, like, 10 seconds. But, anyways, I love this. I thought it was really great. I definitely would look forward to watching a lot more of these in the future.
You know, this is one, but I wish kind of continued. I never watched the like the reboot in the 2000s. The animation just looks kind of
Not your style.
not my style. It's a completely different animation, and I loved this style so much. And I love the way that like Akira and Rio look. You know, and I totally ship them. Because it's not even subtext. Like,
It's
it is
I
literal
didn't
text.
pick up on it, but
I
it's
picked up
okay.
on it.
It
but
is weird that
I-
he's just like, you're the only true person I ever met. Now be possessed by a demon for me.
when he go visits him in the hospital, then he
It
has like a
is-
psychic link.
His friend has a thing for him.
His
He's
friend
like, he
totally
wants
does.
the devil man dick. Is
right,
what he wants.
exactly.
DMD.
And I love the way that like Akira like changes his look changes once he becomes possessed.
He's
by-
like normal, then he has the half possessed, and then he has the full possessed.
right. Well, there's like normal Akira, and then there's like Akira once he's bonded with the devil, but like still in his human form,
Yeah.
and like he's a bit taller and like buffer, and like his hair's a little bit more wild.
He's like the beginning of Jeff Goldblum when he
Yeah.
becomes half a fly.
Exactly. then he's got like Wolverine mode, and then it's just full on, Devilman.
Where's that blasted salami? That's Wolverine from the cartoon.
Yeah,
I thought
but
it was great.
It was great, and I do wish that this one kind of continued. And even when when the new one came out, I was kind of excited when I saw the animation. I'm like, I don't want to do this as much.
I do.
One day I will, but
8.5 on this one for me.
this one,
First time watch though too.
I'd give it a 4. I think that if it were a more complete series, I'd totally bump it up because I do love, like I said, I love the animation style. I love the characters. I like the lore that's going on here. It's just with only 2 episodes. It's like
It sucks.
It sucks. It sucks. And this was always like my dilemma growing up in like the 90s.
You didn't want to watch anything because it ended bad.
It
never ended.
It never ended, and like I think I said a few times, like you would drop $30-$40 a tape, not knowing if like this is all that was ever going to be released. Like there's hundreds of them that I would just buy, or like we trade with our friends, and I'd sometimes throw a fit if my friends would get the dubbed. Although this one I watched dubbed, and I really like the dub on it.
So, who sounded really weird? I watched it subbed, but then we watched a part dubbed, and I was like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "I'm Devil Man." I was like,
but the dub Doubleman
no,
was kind of
that's a little rough.
a little bit rough. But Starboard dub don't really matter. But
I still liked it quite a bit.
I did, and and I think I am looking at like through like the eyes of nostalgia, because like this is like, okay, I have to buy more of this like bootleg stuff, and
yeah, I mean it was a nice addition too.
yeah, this was a really nice addition. I don't know where we got
subbed and
that.
dubbed. Right Stuff, Anime has a bunch of shit on there that is cheaper than Amazon, so that's where I'd buy it at.
The next anime I pick isn't as graphic as you think it is, but
We're not doing that.
We're doing that one.
Okay, so next week it's my pick, and I have 2 1994 movies I want you to watch. One you don't want to watch.
we're still doing this 94 stuff.
Yeah. There's
my
two.
God.
There's two. And I'm gonna let you pick which one first, but you're gonna have to do them both.
You've
So,
done this.
Red to Kill or Serial Mom.
What the hell's Red to Kill?
Red to Kill's the Cat 3 movie, but you're gonna have to watch it eventually. It's I've seen it. It's been years. It's literally the guy. There's a rapist targeting anyone who wears red, and there's a mentally handicapped girl who dresses up nice one day, and guess what? She's targeted for the rape, and it's up to a group of mentally handicapped people to stand up against this violent rapist and kill him.
I'm not watching that.
It's perfect.
What's the other one?
Serial Mom by John Waters.
We'll go for Serial Mom. Why I'm not watching?
You are watching Red to Kill. The title's great. He sees red. He's got to kill Jeremy.
It's
perfect.
just a pun off of Dress to Kill with that.
Brian De Palma.
Yeah.
Which was
Which
just
was
as sleazy.
Psycho 4 or whatever.
No, Psycho 4 is the beginning. It's called Psycho 4 the beginning.
Well, which one is Dress to Kill? Psycho 6?
Well, technically, Dress to Kill came out before Psycho 2 and 3, I think.
Did it really?
And 4.
What's the time gap in all those?
Well, Psycho 2 came out like 21, 22 years later. It came out like 81, 82.
That one
82,
still
82.
had
Yeah, Anthony Perkins. He's great in it. It's very good. Psycho 2 is very good.
I've never seen any Psycho movie.
That's sick.
Yeah, but I'm about to watch fucking Red to Kill.
This guy won't watch The Shining, so fucking who cares?
Yeah,
what he
but
thinks?
ain't no Stephen King on this channel.
We're watching Stephen King.
No.
Stevie King is very upset at you.
I had to watch so many. Like, what we watch? I had to watch fucking Silver Bullet or whatever.
Silver Bullet's great.
Oh my god, that was a waste of fucking time.
We're done. We're cutting this off.
Yeah, we're done. We're done.
done.
Just, yeah.
All right, let's get into these questions, comments, concerns. Last week I asked you what your favorite SOV movie is, and a lot of answers with shit that wasn't SOV. So, okay, let's go. Sherlock Horror, Happy New Year. Happy New Year back at you. The Gore Guide. I will definitely check out the beta test. I loved Wolf of Snow Hollow. I thought Jim Cummings was wearing false teeth in it to add to the mystery, but it looked like are his real teeth. Kentucky Tater. Loved your sneak peek into the writing room of Birds 2. Thank you. Senior Dossier. Retro Reviews, Collexium en Masse, Happy and Glory 2020. Thank you. He also says, have you seen a late 70s movie about a man that befriends an old war veteran that sells memorabilia and little flags? He falls in love with the man's daughter and starts cheating on his wife. The man's daughter is a witch and suddenly one day takes out a doll that looks like the protagonist's wife and pierces the doll with a big needle, and the doll starts bleeding. At the afternoon, he goes back to his home to find his son crying and tells him that a man knocked on the door and stabbed his mom. I believe that is actually from Beyond the Grave, the Amicus picture, and he says, thank you. The story is called An Act of Kindness. I remember watching it when I was very young at Warner Brothers Bizarro movie section. Very cool. Art Figueredo, thank you. Sorry, geez. He says, favorite SOV movie? I'm going with Bat Salt Zombies since MVD had it on sale and I bought it because you being in it. Definitely enjoyed Dustin Mills stuff. Thank you. Bat Salt Zombies was shot on digital, direct to video, but not SOV. Then we have Skip Barber. In the 9 years you've been acting in indie films, starting with Bat Salt Zombies, actually it started before that, you have appeared in a staggering 34 films. What roles were the most difficult? Not technical production issues, but where getting into character took a lot of effort. Would you consider these difficult roles your best? What was one where I had, I remember I had difficulty, not because of the role, but I had just, we were filming Benny and Steve, and then I had to go away for a weekend and film Plank Face, where it's a completely different movie, where I'm like a rapist guy in it. And then I had to come back and film Benny and Steve, which is more of the comedic movie. And I just could not change character right away. Like, I just was, just for a couple scenes, like, I was like, ugh. I was just like that, and I had to, like, tone it down a little bit or something. Like, I was stuck in that character just for a second. I think that when I read the script for Headless, I felt, I was like, can I play this character? I always read a script and I'm like, I don't know if I can play that character. Then I just start reading the script more and more and just get the character in my head. Then I'm like, okay, I can do this, or I think I can do this. So Headless was one that I thought could be, was going to be possibly a little difficult, but I do think it turned out to be one of my best roles that I did, honestly. As Halloween Spookies was something that I had a long monologue in. And we did that in like one take. We did it 3 or 4 times, and I had to get the framing, the framing and your steps and all that kind of shit and your timing right. And I don't know if it was the hardest role to get into, but I definitely learned that monologue more than any other line I had. So I put a lot into it, and I do think that turned out to be one of my better performances too. So I guess it depends. Sometimes if something looks intimidating, maybe you overcompensate for it, and you end up having a better job. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's also hard to say what your best. I don't watch the movies I'm in that many times. Maybe once or twice, and then I call it. I know the roles that I enjoyed doing, like Rip, and I know the movies that I enjoyed that came out, like Invalid and stuff like that. So it's all a little bit different. I know that the final interview was nerve-wracking because I had learned a lot of the lines, and then they had to be changed because there was a location change, and I got the lines the day of. Although it was kind of, they could break it up if they had to. I wanted to do it in one. So it was a lot of new dialogue mixed with the old dialogue that I had, so you have it like half memorized and stuff, and I wanted to make sure I did a good job because, it was for Fred Vogel, and there's, I respect Fred in his films, and there's a lot of people in that movie with, that are really great actors, so I was like, I don't want to be that guy stinking up the joint, so I wanted to make sure I got that right, and I felt like I came across decent in that, but it was a difficult one, just because the short prep time. Then we have some answering for the favorite SOV movies. Dustin Mills, Redneck Zombies, Christopher Bickle, Blonde Death, Sean Donahue, Creep, Marcus Cook, Bloodletting, or Shatter Dead. Love both of those. Dustin Mills agrees with those. Jonathan A. Moody also loves Bloodletting. Jeremy White, Dream Maniac, which I don't think is SOV. James D. Cokes, The Video Dead, which is not SOV. Rebecca Reinhardt chimes in, that was shot on 16mm. And then James says, I'll go with video violence then. Clint Kelly, Sledgehammer. I know he loves Sledgehammer. Funny thing is, I remember back in the day, me and Clint used to be buddies online, and we always wanted to get Sledgehammer released. I think he helped get Sledgehammer released. Sean Donahue. I think that's the first SOV movie I ever saw. Daniel Del Pozio. I don't know how to say your last name. Is it Pozzo? Pozzo. Sorry. He says gore whore, which is fun. Alex Powers, Killer Nerd. Daniel Carlson, The Ripper with Tom Savini, but Savini hates it. Jeff Pinnell, Hallucinations. That's the Polonia Brothers movies. Nick Weaver, Eyes of the Werewolf. Ron Ford says, I was in that one. And Nick Weaver says it's the first I ever saw. Ron Ford, I'm quite fond of it as well. Jeff Leroy is always fun to work for. James L. Edwards, Shatter Dead or Killing Spree. And Killing Spree is not SOV. I think that was actually 35mm, which is fucking nuts. Sean Donahue corrects him. So when Jonathan Knight, Shatter Dead looks really, basically mentions how great the Blu-ray looks. I agree. Madeline Deering, Killer Nerd, Spirit Animal. Rebecca Reinhardt. Okay, so Jocelyn Mackey, Video Violence. Mike Lombardo, Redneck Zombies, followed closely by Video Violence. Okay, so he basically mentions cast reunion for Redneck Zombies. Okay, here we go. Shane Glass, Slashers. I love that movie. Is that cheap digital or SOB? I don't know. Matthew Cantor, Door 1 of 5 Doors of Death. Sorry. Jerry Ventilla, Splatter Farm. Aaron Fram, Redneck Zombies, Killer Nerd, Video Violence, Sledgehammer, Splatter, Architects of Fear, Cannibal Campout. Love SOB stuff. Colin Stone, Boarding House. Robert Alvarez, Blood Cult. Mark Ball, The Dead Next Door is way up there. Super 8. Love that movie, but it's Super 8. Rebecca Reinhardt, Video Violence 1 and 2. Dylan Young, Secret Life of Jeffrey Dahmer. Somebody comes in and says Susanna Kapatansky or Kantastasi. Pretty sure that was 35mm. Still great, though. That movie, I had no idea. I only saw it the one time, but very good movie. Sorry about that. Aaron Crothers, Axum. Stanley Eastman. Dead Next Door, if that counts. Oh, and then he's corrected, and he says Redneck Zombies or Cannibal Campout. Doug Waugh, Death Nurse 2. Richard Taylor, Truth or Dare, or in Sinister, which is getting an amazing Blu-ray release from Vinegar Syndrome. Amazing SOV film. I forgot Burning Moon and Massacre Up North. Truth or Dare is not SOV, though. I'm correcting somebody on that. Oh, yeah. He basically says, here it is. I correct him on that, and he says, my bad. And then he comes back and says, why is it listed as number 1 by Morbidly Beautiful as one of the top SOV films? Because Morbidly Beautiful apparently doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. So basically I just come back and I say it's a common mistake, But that site also included Killing Spree. You can see Killing Spree and Truth or Dare, like, okay, mistake. And Deadly Spawn. Who the fuck thinks Deadly Spawn is an SOV? Jonathan Knight, Redneck Zombies. David Bachmeyer, Redneck Zombies or Burning Moon. Brad Twigg, Ozone. This stuff will blow your mind. Love Ozone. Jay Miller, Whitehall, Skinner, not SOV. Lernero Leo, was it Redbox Killers? I don't fucking know what he's talking about. Nathan Rumler, Bloodletting. Lex Crossley, was Igor and the Lunatics SOV? I don't think so. Not 100%. Yorlik Dolphin, Fetus, 2K8, Brian Paulin for the win. Brian Paulin's, I think, are cheap digital. I don't think they're video. I don't know 100% what he shoots on. Richard Tanner, Burglars from Hell. Michael Allen Fitzgerald, Juliet's Director's Cut. I don't know that movie. Mark Kratzencheck. I don't know his name. He says I have that film. Casey Botwin, Easily Tales from the Quad Dead Zone. Ryan Vincent Logston, Las Vegas Bloodbath. Rebecca Reinhardt. Okay, so this is a reply to somebody. Cody Rapp, gotta go with either Inbox, Black Past, or Video Violence. Ron Ford, Dead Season. Corey Walter, Killing Spree and Murder Lust. Both aren't SOV. Donald Pleb, Bloodletting. Inicio Hernandez, Black Past, Tim Walker, Sledgehammer, Brandon Motley, Savage Harvest, Tony of the Dead, Video Violence, Michael Madsen, Redneck Zombie still holds a place in my heart, James Fegg Jr., Truth or Dare, shot on film, Brian Paulin corrected him there, Jerry Cortez, The Burning Moon, Derek B., Savage Harvest, but The Burning Moon is up there, Harry Collins, Snuff Kill. Snuff Kill's really awesome. Covered it last week. Harry Collins and me go back and forth a little bit. I gave him a shout out because I remember how much he loved that movie when I reviewed it. So, Harry Collins, good dude. If you like gore films, check out his channel. I don't remember what his YouTube channel is. Actually, I just know him by Harry Collins, but he does good stuff. He directs movies too. So, Michaela Bellamy, Redneck Zombies, Video Violence, Violent Shit, Splatter Farm. I list some movies that I'm tired of seeing that aren't SOV. So I basically listed movies not SOV that people think are: Video Dead, Dead Next Door, Truth or Dare, Killing Spree, Mutations, or is it Mutilations? Mutilation, City in Panic, Dream Maniac, also Murder Lust. Corey Walter. This one is screwed up. Okay, so where we go? My ink's running out. I didn't know that. David Hayes, Rot by Marcus Cook. Tom Lee Rudder, Houseboat Horror. Jeremy R. Amadeus, fuck off. Chris May, Blood Cult. Matthew Hudson, clarification. Are you including film shot on digital videotape, or does it have to be a movie shot on VHS? So I tell him VHS. He says I'll have to go with Redneck Zombies since I won my copy at a Halloween party. Ethan Mitchell, I'd say gore horror. I don't know why, but I always thought it and the rest of Hugh Gallagher's films were a lot of fun. Yeah, they're pretty cool. Eric James, Cannibal Campout was the first SOV I saw. It's the main reason I made my own SOV, so it holds a special place for me. Cool. Don Adams, same here and same here. He replies to him. Although I'm thinking of Wood Chipper Massacre. Reginald Grimsby, Blood Lake. Michael Fisher, Redneck Zombies, Black Past, Savage Harvest for sure. Psycho Pike and Abominations were fun, underrated ones. Abomination is not SOV, I don't believe. Either is the Ozone Attack of the Redneck Mutants, but Ozone, the Tempe movie, is. It gets confusing. Psycho Pike, I've never seen, so I do not know. Chris Neal, Bloodletting. Jeff Gregor, Blood Lake. Don't judge me. I won't. Jason Driver, Bride of Frank. Scott W. Davis, Scrapbook. Love Scrapbook. Jerry Bradshaw, Boarding House. Skip Barber, Amy. Amy's not SOV, but the movies he made probably are. Patty Rhodes, Houseboat Horror. Spine. Jeff Gregor. Oh, that's a good one. Tony Mazzelli, anything from SOVhorror.com. Check those out. He sells a bunch of SOV movies, real rare ones that I haven't seen. I have to go over there. I was looking at the site the other day, but I was busy. I was looking to buy a couple. So check it out. He releases a lot of cool stuff. David Luton, I haven't seen many SOV films, so I can't comment on that. Sorry, but I'd like to comment on your recent review of The Censor. As someone who was a teenager in the early 80s when the Video Nasty folklore kicked off and actually owned some of the Video Nasties, damn it, I forgot to hit see more on these last two. Oh, man. These are the actual questions, too, and stuff, and I forgot to hit see more. I'm sorry. It's been a long day, like I said. So, also, Nick Mua. I know that David Luton says he's looking forward to Censor, and I hope he really likes it myself. So, Nick Mua, I have a love-hate relationship with SOV, but who doesn't like to see Mr. Sweeney's? Yours truly, Jack. My choice is 1985's The Ripper. Obviously, questions. Do you see yourself getting rid of your VHS collection? I don't know. I really don't. I won't just, like, it's even if I wanted to sell them, like, I would want to have to go through everything and make sure everything was in good condition. You want to make sure there's no mold, and like, it got to the point now where people are, like, grading VHS and shit, so I don't fucking know. I keep them for me, because I like them. I'm not a VHS collector. A lot of the ones I have are just, because I've had them for years, or they've never been on DVD or Blu-ray, but, so that's why I have them. It's not like some major flex or anything like that, but I probably wouldn't sell them. Sorry I missed your other questions and everything like that, guys. I really am. So if you would ask them next week, if you really want to know, that would be appreciated. Ken Slade, Shatter Dead, Mark of the Devil 666, which not familiar with. Jay Wall, The Last Broadcast. Is that digital? I don't know. Neil Lemoy, The Don and Ellie Classic Things. Things is not SOV, but sure as fuck looks like it. I didn't ask the question of the week this week, but I'm just going to go. Favorite Shaw Brothers movie? What is your favorite Shaw Brothers flick? Because after this box set's over, I might be looking to watch some more. So, yeah, we're going to hop into that update. Okay, this would be a rather quick update. First up is Who Framed Roger Rabbit on 4K. I love this movie. Robert Zemeckis directed. Got a great cast. Christopher Lloyd, Bob Hoskins, a bunch of other people. This is one that I'd love to have over just a movie night. Something approachable for everybody that I just love. I always love that movie. Prince of the City, Treat Williams. Never seen this one. Hear good things about it. I know Brian Sauer is a huge fan of it. Sidney Lumet. So, yeah, and check this one out. He always mentions this on Pure Cinema Podcast, so it was a matter of time before I picked it up. Good price. Then we have Drunken Master 2, aka Legend of the Drunken Master. So I know there's a first one. That one's kind of a little harder to find in the States, but for the price of the Warner Archive disc, I grabbed it. Not very expensive. It was on sale, $10. I don't have that many Jackie Chan movies, but I've only seen a handful, but I like what I've seen. So then we have The Djinn, which is a new one from IFC Midnight. It was a good price on here. Not getting a chance to watch this for 2021, but yeah. Looks kind of creepy. Looks decent. Then next up is The Super Deep. This is a Shudder original. I think a Russian horror film. Wow, that creature on the front there looks absolutely freaking horrifying. But yeah, so we're going to hop back to the video, guys. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. And as always, have a good one.